Hi everyone, I'm Cosmin. In today's video on Dessertophilia, I'm showing you how to make a delicious chocolate and dates cake. This cake is moist because of the dates, and if you want a fudgier result, I recommend to keep it in the oven 5 minutes less. Nevertheless, if you want it to be more done, keep it in the oven 5 minutes longer. While this cake is a delicious dessert all on its own, you can take it to a whole other level with a cheese cream frosting. I think that roses go very well with dark chocolate, which is why I flavored my cheese cream frosting with rose water. It was a bit of an experiment, I admit, and I didn't make enough frosting right from the start. I only had enough for a layer. And then I thought, okay, I want more on this cake. So I made another batch, but I'll give you the full measurements in the recipe below. Well then, let's get to it. In my jug I have 125 grams of dates, which I pitted, 35 grams of 65% bittersweet chocolate, and to these I add half a teaspoon of baking soda. To these I'm adding 175 milliliters of very hot almond milk, and then I'm setting the jug aside for about 10 minutes just to give the dates enough time to soften. Here I have 35 grams of room temperature butter that I'm just softening with my spatula. To the soft butter add 75 grams of erythritol and mix until you obtain a grainy mixture. And now it's time to add a single egg. You can mix it in with the spatula at first and then switch over to a whisk. It'll make your life easier. And don't worry if your mixture looks lumpy and grainy, because adding the warm dates to it will melt the butter just nicely. Use a heat-resistant immersion blender to puree the dates and the chocolate. Add a couple of dollops of warm date puree to the egg mixture and then whisk it in. Once it's homogeneous, you can proceed to adding more, and you'll notice the butter melting. And then you can add the remaining puree all at once. You'll notice that after mixing you'll have a very smooth, shiny mixture. And now it's time to sift in the dry ingredients. 80 grams of all-purpose flour, 35 grams of Dutch processed cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of salt, and then half a teaspoon of ground allspice and a dried rosebud that I crushed. If you don't have dried rosebuds, use half a teaspoon of rose water. All you have to do now is mix with a whisk. Be careful not to incorporate any air, you don't need that. Then switch back to the spatula just to make sure there aren't any lumps left. And to finish the batter, incorporate 50 grams of dark chocolate chips. I'm using an 18 cm springform pan that I just greased. Pour the batter in, then level it, and you're ready to bake. Tap it against your work surface a couple of times just to make sure that all the big air bubbles are out. Bake the cake at 170 Celsius for 35 minutes if you want a slightly fudgier result. Let it cool down to room temperature in the pan before you remove it. To obtain even layers, I recommend using a cake leveler. And there you have it, a perfectly level cake layer. Just repeat the process for the second layer. To make the rosewater frosting, you're gonna have to start with 80 grams of butter and 80 grams of powdered erythritol. I'm mixing them over a water bath because the powdered erythritol takes a bit longer to dissolve than powdered sugar. Just be very careful not to melt the butter. Then add 250 grams of cream cheese and mix it in. Now you can switch to a hand mixer and beat the cream up for 2 to 3 minutes just to get some volume. Add a teaspoon of rosewater and continue mixing for a couple of seconds. Use your soft silicone spatula to press the cream and get all the big air bubbles out. Now fill a piping bag, fit it with a tip you like, and you're ready to fill and frost the cake. I like a lot of cream between layers, and to make sure I get an even layer, I'm piping rosettes. This also ensures that the sides will look very nice. Carefully place the other layer on top of the cream. And now continue piping in any pattern you like until you finish covering the entire cake. Chill the cake for an hour to give the cream some time to set. Slice it and enjoy. And if you like this recipe, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and let me know what you would like to see next. See you next time, Dessertophiles!